It's the arrogance of the players too. They act like they've done something and they haven't.
Right.
But yeah, it's, how do you get rid of a coach that has never had a losing record? I mean, if you asked any other fan of any other team in the league and they said, "Hey, we want to get rid of Tomlin," most of them would say, "I would love to." Although it's funny, when I talked to a couple of Patriots people, they both said the same thing. Man, your coach sucks, and you need to get rid of him. So,
well, they're the only coach that really has been the thorn in the side of Tomlin consistently since he's been here. The one team that always beats him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's hard to say who would be a better fit. I mean, it could just be a different person, really, that gets them up for some of these games. And I mean, you're talking about all that talent. All they have to do is harness that into these bad losses, and you're probably going to still make the playoffs and win the division. But I mean, it is hard with the non-losing seasons and all of that stuff. But that's kind of been a thorn in their side, sort of, because it's kept them from getting any of those top 15 draft picks.
That's the thing. They've always had a good record, so they haven't been able to get
replenish that defense.
But that's the thing. They've spent so many draft picks on the defense. Basically, you had Cowher's defense, and when those guys went away, you replaced them. I don't want to say with crap. TJ Watt's okay.
Watt's okay. To be honest, when Shazier was drafted, he wasn't really talked about as the guy, but he turned out to be a great pick. But they've definitely had more reaches and misses. Everyone
especially
said when we drafted Burns.
Yeah,
Burns was a reach, and he turned out to be a flop.
Davis is, I think, decent. So
yeah. And Edmonds, I mean, jury's still out on Edmonds, but
I think he's got the ability to be pretty good. But I got all the D line guys I like; they're pretty good. Maybe get a little depth there.
And you mentioned Shazier. Shazier was last year. That is that's totally an excuse. Not okay. So Shazier gets hurt, and it basically wrecked the defense. That I understand, but the thing about Shazier before he got in that career-ending injury is he always did get hurt. It was not a new thing that he was going to get hurt. He just always got hurt at some point. So, and there was no reliable backup.
Right.
When you play those four linebackers, it's hard to have enough guys to really on the roster to back someone up like that.
When your main thing is the linebackers, when your main part of the defense is the linebackers, and you have those guys out there, Bud Dupree, can we say he's a bust?
He wasn't. He didn't live up to his hype. I don't know if he's a bust. I think he was.
So here's some little insight for you guys. My best friend has some ties to a local high school near me where Colton Miller, the first round pick from the Raiders, their starting left tackle, went to high school. And I actually went to the Steelers-Raiders games 2 weeks ago under Colton Miller's tickets.
Nice.
And we went to dinner after the game, and we were talking, and then he knew I was a Steelers fan, and I asked him about Bud Dupree, and he said he was a lot weaker. He wasn't as strong. I think his exact words is he wasn't as strong as I thought he'd be. And he said he had a pretty easy time going against him. And Colton's had his struggle as a rookie left tackle, but his comments about Dupree just not really being a guy who was imposing his will on him were interesting to me. But I don't know. Dupree is a guy who shows flashes, but he just
never lived up at least.
Yeah, for whatever he was, top 15 or top 17 pick, he hasn't really been the guy we thought he would be.
Yeah, he seems to always take that roundabout way and never tries to go through someone. He seems to have strength, but I don't know if it's the right kind of power strength. You know what I mean? His arms are big. Yeah. But he just seems to always try and take the long route all the way around, and then all of a sudden he's like 10 yards behind the goal.
Right.
What are you doing back there?
He's in the tunnel by the time.
He's on the Fort Pitt Bridge.
Yeah.
But Joe, like you said, it's kind of with the coaching. We've only had 3 coaches in 60 years or whatever. It's similar type of thing where it seems like the Steelers are kind of stuck in their way with philosophical things like, we don't trade up in the draft to get positions of need. And it's, there were guys, inside linebackers sitting there this year that, Van Der Esch or Roquan Smith that we could have traded up and got, knowing that was a position.
I thought I heard somewhere they tried to trade up, but I don't know if that's true. But no one was really willing, or else I don't know if the price was too high.
The price was too high. I mean, but still, you could have tried.
We don't know if they tried or not. We're going by what they say.
Well, okay, let's say, I mean, the price would have been steep, basically. I don't know what the price would have been to trade up because they were
taking Boswell. Please. That would have helped out the whole season.
And I mean, you have I don't know what, and Ben kind of talked about this in his post-game press conference today, but what is the window with him as the quarterback in this team? But you have a Super Bowl caliber roster with a couple glaring holes in it. So, do you take a gamble and risk, paying a steep price to go up and get someone who could help you possibly win a Super Bowl?
Well, let's talk about the Super Bowl roster with some glaring holes. In the end, Le'Veon Bell screwed this team royally. And I'm not talking about just him not showing up, because if he showed up, as much as I love Connor, he caught his fumbles in a couple games cost them the Cleveland game and the Denver game. So those don't happen probably with Le'Veon Bell. And also, if Le'Veon Bell is out there, you don't have fumbling Stephen Ridley out there throwing away the Saints game.
Geez.
So
unbelievable.
But
that's part of it, yeah.
But the whole thing with him, it ends up being he doesn't show up, and he forfeits $14.5 million. And that's money that would get put toward next year, blah, blah, blah. But that's $14.5 million that could have been spent this year on somebody.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the biggest problem. It was held up because, he said he was going to come in and he didn't. And it was all, basically just for him. He didn't care what happened to his teammates or his, I would assume, friends, when they know they have a short window here with probably at the most maybe 3 years left. Or
he
something.
Just proved what we all know is the case with players. It's a business.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely one guy that.
He's he's the patron saint of the Donut Bag podcast. We talk about him more than anything.
We did, at least up until he was finally.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we were obsessed with the guy. But that just I think that killed the team. Or one of the things that killed the team. They could have desperately used that money on some other free agent, somebody else other than Bostic, who is even still on the team.
Or a cornerback, anything on defense.
Anything.
Another outside linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah, there were definitely guys. There were definitely guys out there late in the free agency that were, and let's be honest, the Steelers, if they have the money to sign people, are one of the most attractive destinations for a free agent out there, with their history and the culture of winning and all that.
And the Steelers will do it. They're not a team that shies away from being right up against the cap. That's one of their problems every year too. They're always trying to fight that off. Now that they know Bell and everything, they kind of have some room to wiggle with this year. I don't know what the free agency is going to look like. They could fill up a hole or two temporarily there while they still draft some young guys to take over some of those holes.
Yeah, it's and my point about Shazier is, first of all, they didn't have an adequate backup for him last year, and it crippled them because they got freaking Sean Spence that was literally laying on his couch.
Oh my gosh!
But this year, it's like, okay, that was last year. You had an entire off season to try to prepare for him. Okay, yeah, the draft didn't go the way you wanted because all those guys were gone, but still, do something.
Well, I mean, they tried. You can't really make anyone come here and sign. And then again, they didn't really have a whole lot of money
because they didn't have the money because of Bell. So
and they did a couple years ago try to sign Hightower, which would have. I mean, can you imagine
Yeah.
Shazier and Hightower in there? Oh my gosh, that would have been like a Steelers steel curtain wet dream for all the fans out there. But
Yeah.
I mean, they have tried. It's not. I don't think they've really just sat back and been like, it'll just let the pieces fall how they may. But and Hightower kind of strung them along too that whole off season when he was I'm going to sign. I'm not going to sign. I'm coming in.
Right.
Then he went right back to the Patriots. Probably stole some playbooks when he went back with them. So it's been crazy. And with Tomlin, it was hard to replace. I mean, within 2 or 3 years, that entire Super Bowl defense all retired. So it was it is hard to fill up that many gaps all in a couple years.
Yeah, but and then
was
the gaps
Smith,
that they
Hampton and
right, but the ones that they did find that they did, it's not like they've neglected the position. That's all they've been drafting the past 5 years or so, and it's not working when you blow get Burns being a bust just cripples them.
Well, yeah, that one was
yeah. It's curious because Tomlin's background is in the secondary, and they've hit. I mean, Tuitt's been largely a stud. Hayward's been a stud.
Hargrave's been good, yeah.
Hargrave's been great. They've hit up front, but that the middle linebacker to secondary level, they just haven't had many successes.
The problem is you need linebackers. In this kind of defense, you need good linebackers, and when you don't have them. When Bud Dupree is running into the tunnel every time, and I mean Vince Williams is okay, but he's just okay.
Yeah, and I think him and Bostic were adequate, but with our scheme flaws, they were easily exposed.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Is it's hilarious is that they fail to address the linebacker position, yet they have linebackers running around covering Rob Gronkowski and Keenan Allen.
Yeah, and Shazier was able to do that, but he was a one of a kind. There's not many linebackers that have that speed and athleticism.
Yeah,
so
not many.
It was easy, I guess, for the better coaches to outcoach them,
Yeah.
Right.
One thing I heard, and I don't know whether this is true or not, but what was it? The last week's game against the Saints, which seems like a year ago for some reason. I don't know. It just seems like a long time ago. Maybe because it was, we've had, Christmas and stuff since then. But that big third and was it 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 20 or something like that, and they give up in the fourth quarter, and they give it up. And I heard that it was a similar situation to other times in the season that they've had 3rd and long, and they would play the same kind of defense every time, and the Saints or whoever can just look at the tape and see, oh, they're doing this again, we can exploit it, and they never adjusted and they never changed it. And
it was predictable. And
to me, that's on Butler. To me, that means Butler has to go.
I think they do need a new, updated type of defensive mind. I think at times it looked good, but it was in the second halves. I think they just completely failed.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think they're going to fire some assistant coaches. Special teams coach is gone. Butler's gone. And so Tomlin won't be fired, but he'll lose some power. Basically.
Yeah, I think at the very least, the leash should be a lot shorter at this point. And I don't know. I consider doing something with Munchak. I want to keep him here. I mean, promote him.
They need Munchak. Yeah, Munchak can never go. Chain him to the desk.
Yeah, make him an assistant or something, at least for now. Maybe kind of talk to him and say, hey, in the future, you might be considered for this job if you want it, because he's gonna get some looks probably.
Well, here's the thing. I don't think he wants to be a
yeah. I'm not sure if he wants to. That's up to him too.
But the thing is, the money's too good. If he's making $500,000 or $1 million now, head coach